Welcome once again to SoCo Chat, a podcast where we hear directly from county leaders, discuss the latest news, and talk about all things concerning our beautiful corner of California known as Sonoma County. Welcome back to SoCo Chat, everybody. Thank you once again for joining us. I am your host, Paul Gullickson, Communications Manager for the County of Sonoma. Today, we're diving into one of the most pressing issues facing our communities, all communities, and that's homelessness. There's certainly a lot to be said about this issue, but the focus of our discussion today is one of the key groups that plays a central role in Sonoma County's effort to end homelessness here in our community. That is the Sonoma County Homelessness Coalition, which is overseen by a 17-member board that designates the funds that are designated by the Homeless Coalition toward addressing homelessness here. The board consists of local elected officials, nonprofit representatives, subject matter experts, and individuals with lived homeless experience. Joining us today is Andrew Akufo, Program Planning and Evaluation Analyst for the Department of Health Services, the Homelessness Services Division within the Department of Health Services here in the County of Sonoma. But before we get to our conversation with Andrew, let's start with our trivia question for the day. And that is this: based on the 2024 point in time count, PIT count from last year, roughly how many people in Sonoma County were unsheltered, meaning they were living in their cars, on the streets, or in other public spaces? Was it 500, 1,500, or 2,500 people? We're giving you a multiple choice question today. If you know the correct answer, call us at 707-565-2242. That's 565-2242, or email us at publicaffairs@sonoma-county.org. And the first person who calls in with the correct answer will receive one of our SoCo Chat coffee mugs, as well as a $5 gift card to Pete's Coffee. And with that, let's move on to our discussion. Andrew, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Paul.
Well, we do appreciate it, and we know this is a significant issue in our community, and I want to dive right in. And so what is the role of the board, and what is it that you do to support the board?
Yeah, so the Homeless Coalition Board is the governing body, members who are appointed or elected to basically tackle the issues surrounding homelessness here in Sonoma County, as well as the housing crisis and different aspects which contribute to it. So they meet each month, usually once a month, for anywhere from 4 to 5 hours. They're trying to lessen the meeting time.
I know
right
they have
now.
long meetings, don't
Yeah,
they? Well, there's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about, but important issues, different policies, programs, funding propositions being put in place, so they make a lot of important decisions, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the group which has been put in place, and it represents different facets and aspects of Sonoma County.
And how long have you been supporting the board, and how long have you been with the county as well?
So I have been with the county for 3 years now.
Okay.
And all of my work has been within the Homeless Services Division.
Okay. What is your background? I'm just curious.
Oh, my goodness. So my background is going to surprise everyone because it is completely different from the field which I'm currently working in. My background is actually visual arts.
Okay.
I went to school to become an artist and learn about its management and that aspect. But during the pandemic, it led me to looking for other opportunities, including the Sonoma County position, which I'm currently working in, which is a Program Planning and Evaluation Analyst within the Homeless Services Division. But, of course, this is something which I've been passionate about, which is why I'm still working within that field and have a great staff of people and hoping to help provide a solution to one of our most pressing needs in the community.
Well, I love that. I mean, obviously you have multiple passions, and our artists have many times their passions express their ways in many ways to benefit the community.
Right.
And obviously you're finding your outlets. That's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Well, it's my understanding that you're looking for more community residents to step up and join the board, and we're going to get to the specifics about that in a second. But why is it so important, in your view, to have people from various backgrounds being part of this coalition board?
That's a great question, Paul. So we need to have diversity simply because homelessness affects every area of our community. People of different backgrounds, people of different upbringings. It's a humanity issue. It's not tied to one social group.
Hmm.
So when we have that kind of representation on our board, it gives voice to certain communities who are going through homelessness, who, for whatever reason, some may have been marginalized in the past.
Hmm.
There's a lot of underlying themes which contribute to homelessness. A lot of times people look at it, they think it's drugs, alcohol, mental illness, and
Hmm.
that is a large part of it. But then also there's institutionalized discrimination and
Hmm.
prejudice, and there's not as many opportunities for certain communities who are going through and experiencing homelessness. So when we have a diverse representation, it not only represents those communities, but it also represents the different regions which we
Hmm.
have here in Sonoma County, which are going through homelessness. Every area is different and needs different resources, needs different solutions. So when we have people coming from all different areas of Sonoma County representing different communities and different organizations,
Hmm.
then we're coming together as like a melting pot, and we're
Hmm.
putting forth all of the different issues together. So it's not just one group of people which is being served, but you're touching every community within Sonoma County.
Right. And I guess having that different experience, getting that lived experience coming to the board, people from different backgrounds, but you also are building, I mean, that's beneficial, but you're also building trust among the people you're trying to serve, right? By having people from different backgrounds and different lived experience.
Absolutely, Paul. Like I had mentioned, traditionally in the past, there have been certain groups of people who didn't necessarily have a voice and didn't
Hmm.
really see any solutions being proposed to their respective community. So when they see somebody who looks like them and who understands the issue, who's able to sit down, hear them, and then bring that to the table where change could be impacted,
Right.
then that makes a huge difference. So we feel that with doing this, we're giving, in essence, a voice to the voiceless, and we're also making sure that we cover every area and facet of our community.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's so important. Building that trust is such a challenge, right? An
Yeah,
obstacle. We've seen it in COVID. We've seen it right now with our immigrant community, trying to, provide those services and support. That's a huge hurdle. Back to basics. Are the individuals on the board, are they appointed or are they elected, and who makes those decisions?
so we have some who are appointed and some who are elected. For example, some of the appointed seats which we have a seat which is represented by one of our county board of supervisors. It's actually Chris Corsi,
Hmm.
and he represents that seat. We also have representation from the different cities within Sonoma County, North County, here in Santa Rosa, Sonoma, so different areas. So
Okay.
those representatives are appointed by their city council
Okay.
members. So we naturally have those seats in place. We also have a seat represented by the largest service provider organization, happens to be Catholic Charities here in Sonoma County. So
Hmm.
they always have a seat at the table. Some of the elected seats which we have available, well, we have two seats which are elected by the LEAP board.
Okay.
For those who don't know who the LEAP board is, it is our Lived Experience and Advisory Planning Board. It's a board made up of people with lived experience of homelessness.
Okay.
So they're in charge of electing the TAY seat, and TAY stands for Transitional Age Youth from age 18 through 30.
Hmm.
Used to be 24. So that's expanded. So they individually elect that seat as well as the adult lived experience seat, which is obviously, somebody who's adult age who's experienced homelessness at some
Hmm.
point in their life. We also have the health organizational seat. So somebody from a health organization that is elected by the COC membership,
Hmm.
which is our membership made up of some organizations and then some individuals. So
Hmm.
they elect that seat. They also elect,
So it's somebody with a health background of some kind, a
correct,
doctor, or
from
nurse,
a
or
health
some. Okay.
organization.
Okay.
Yeah. We also have somebody, this is a new seat, representing the BIPOC.
Hmm.
So, a person of color and
Hmm.
representing, that subpopulation. Um, what is another? We also have a service provider seat, which is also elected by our general membership, and it can be from any service provider organization here in
Hmm.
Sonoma County. Um, Other appointed seats, which we have a tribal seat. So we
Hmm.
want to make sure that we're also tying in our indigenous and Native American
Yeah.
population. They actually experience quite a bit of homelessness, which people may not be
Hmm.
aware of. But I'm sure that there's more that I'm missing off the top of my
But
head.
these are some of the seats that you have
These are some of the
openings,
seats.
and so can people apply for these positions and then be elected, or are they basically do they go to a supervisor and ask to be nominated, or how's that work?
So the ones who are appointed, that's completely up
That's
to
separate.
their
Okay.
governing body. But the open seats which we have, which are appointed by our membership
Uh-huh.
or by the LEAP board,
Mhm.
those ones are open. Obviously, with the LEAP board, people who have experienced homelessness. But for
You need
those
to have
who,
some experience there, obviously.
correct.
Yeah.
But for those who are applying for seats elected by our general membership, like the health organizational seat, service provider, BIPOC seat, those ones, there is a application
Okay.
process, a nomination form, which includes a statement of interest, which folks can download from our website.
Mhm.
We also send it out through our email list and other platforms, so they can just get that, fill out their information, and submit it before the deadline for
Okay.
consideration.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I understand there is a deadline coming up. It's coming up fast.
Yes. So the deadline for our nominations, we actually extended it.
Okay.
We extended it to Wednesday, February the 19th by
Okay.
5 o'clock.
Okay.
So that'll be the final day for nominations.
Okay, so this is a good. We'll remind listeners at the end of our interview specifically about that, but let it be known that
Yeah.
we only have till February 19th to get your nomination
Correct.
papers filed.
Get those
so
nominations in.
get them in. Okay. Well, let's talk about the overall mission. The coalition's goal is to um, achieve functional zero in homelessness. What does that mean to the average person? How what is? Can you translate that for me?
Absolutely, Paul. So with functional zero, obviously there's no way to completely prevent homelessness.
Mhm.
There's always going to be somebody who falls into it for whatever reason. But functional zero is us being able to develop a system to the point where when somebody does fall into homelessness, we have a way of solving that issue or getting them housed,
Mhm.
in an adequate amount of time,
Mhm.
as opposed for it being something which is chronic and they keep on falling back into it and it's for extended amounts of time before they're
Mhm.
able to find shelter or housing or supportive services. It's having a system in place where it's addressed as soon as possible to where the length of time that they're homeless is either very brief or it's something which is taken care of as soon as possible.
Mhm. Mhm. And you built on the housing first model, right? That the key thing is to get people in shelter.
That's correct, Paul. A big um, initiative for us has been addressing permanent housing,
Mhm.
getting people into situations to where they're off the streets. It's not just something which is temporary because that doesn't really solve anything. It's a
Mhm.
temporary solution.
Mhm.
But the key goal is for people to be off the streets. So a lot of our um, prioritization has been towards that, and our funding dollars has been towards that. It's something that we've been focusing on. But nevertheless, we also do understand the importance of supportive services, making sure that if people are permanently housed, that they find a way to maintain their housing. And
Mhm.
that actually becomes somewhat of an issue
That's
too.
critical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times people are so used to life on the street,
Mhm.
and survival
Yeah.
instincts that when they find themselves in a situation where they're housed, it's difficult for them to cope.
Yeah.
And that's when services such as peer support, really come into play.
Yeah. So many of us have safety nets that we don't even we take for granted, right? That if something were to fall through, our house were to burn, or we were to get evicted, we always have a relative we can go stay with, or a couch we can crash on. But for many of these people, they don't, right? And they don't have those safety net. But you help provide some of that safety net services, maybe, so that they don't fall into a permanent state of homelessness, right?
Absolutely, Paul. And the only way that we really understand it is by talking to people who have been through,
Right.
those experiences and really listening to them, which is why we're thankful to have a group such as the LEAP board, who
Yeah.
can share this with us.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Well, so tell us about some of the things that the board does, the policies and initiatives that directly improve the lives. I mean, we talk about how you're helping people in the front line, but what does the board do? They help make decisions where the funding goes and what programs are supported, or
That's absolutely correct, Paul. Um, like I mentioned, they meet once a month. Sometimes we have certain emergency meetings just depending on the timeline of when something is due. They review what's called a NOFA, a notice of um, funding
Funding availability.
availability. Exactly. And that's big for us because a lot of the service providers actually apply, they submit their information, their application, the programs which they're looking for support for. And that's where the Homeless Coalition Board will come together. Staff does a great job in putting together recommendations, trying to make things as easy as possible. We do have standing committees
Hmm.
put in place, which a lot of times are made up
Hmm.
of our Homeless Coalition Board members who are able to sit down and really review. So the final propositions and recommendations are brought forth to the Homeless Coalition Board.
Hmm.
And, they have healthy discussion, sometimes intense discussion. They take in community feedback through our public comment and really listen to service providers as well as people in the community. And, they make informed decisions. So, yeah, that's our Homeless Coalition Board, our
Well,
decision makers.
I know these meetings can be long and these decisions can be tough to reach, but the benefit is that the board is represent the whole county, right? And you're really providing a continuum of care such that you're not having one city do one thing and one city do something else and the county doing something else, but you're all working together to come up with a continuum of care, some continuity to what it is the county is doing, right? And that's got to be a benefit overall to everybody.
Yeah. So, it's good to have different representation because obviously everybody on the Homeless Coalition Board wants to see support go into like their
Right.
respective
Into their
communities or
communities.
regions and that sort of thing, which is great. But they're also very fair when it comes to, okay, who is doing the most critical work, who is serving the population that we're really needing to target, what is our priority. And, you have people in place who are passionate about what they
Hmm.
do and they understand that they're also answerable, to who they represent. So, they try to do their best, putting their best foot forward and making sound decisions. And, we really appreciate that.
Well, it's got to be a lot of work. I'm gonna ask a question I often ask people we have on as guests. What do you like most about your job?
Oh my goodness. So the best part about it is seeing somebody or hearing the testimony, I should say,
Hmm.
of somebody who's been out on the streets and they've gone through all these different circumstances and situations and setbacks. And, they're finally in a place to where, they're free of their past, they're able to be housed, they're able to not only have stable income but and stability, but also they're looking for a way to give back.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm blessed because my specific position, I work with a group of folks with that lived experience
Yeah.
and seeing them come out of where they used to be and then wanting to give back to the community and help pull other people
Yeah.
out of the mud and the gunk that they're in.
Yeah.
Like to me that is the most fulfilling part of it, and being able to also contribute and give them the resources and connect them to the places and the people who they need to speak with to be able to impact change. That's
Yeah.
the most rewarding part of it. It
Yeah.
also helps to have a great staff.
Well, that's great. I mean, I love that because so often in the community we only hear the bad news. It's the numbers of homelessness. So we see
Right.
them. We don't often hear or see the good stories, and
Yeah.
you're obviously seeing them in the front lines. And
Oh yeah. Paul, there's a lot of success stories which are out there. And we've been trying to do better about highlighting some of those stories, sharing it on our social media platforms and really getting the word out there. So, obviously it's usually the negative things which tends to make headlines. And it's what people pay attention to. But there's a lot of great things which are happening. So we never
yeah.
want to minimize that.
Well, I love it. Well, here's an open invitation to you to come back on SoCo Chat and share some of those positive stories
I
because
would love to, Paul.
I know we would love to hear them. For now, I know that you do have this deadline coming up for your current vacancies on the board. I want to remind people that you have 3 openings. One is for the Lived Experience Advisory Planning, the LEAP board position. Is that right?
So that is for actually our TAY seat, which is
That's
our
the TAY seat. They're the ones who are going to make that decision. Okay.
Yeah, the LEAP board will make the decision on who is elected into it.
Okay.
But it's the transitional age youth seat, which is for those who've experienced homelessness ages 18 through 30.
Okay. Okay.
And they will represent a seat on the Homeless Coalition board. I just
Okay.
want to provide that clarification.
Thank you.
That's not the LEAP board; it's for the Homeless Coalition.
Thank you for clarifying and cleaning up my description. And then we also have an opening for a BIPOC representative from our BIPOC community, correct?
That is correct, Paul, and that seat will be elected by our general membership, so
Okay.
not the LEAP board.
Okay. And again, we also have a position for the health care industry.
Licensed healthcare organizational seat.
Okay.
That is correct, and that'll also be elected by our general membership as well.
Okay. And then where
Can I mention something? real quick,
Absolutely.
Paul? So for the licensed healthcare organizational seat, so the person who actually steps into that seat will actually be taking over for somebody who recently resigned from that seat. So it'll only be going for, I want to say, the remainder of the year.
of that term?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then they'll need to, I believe, reapply for that position.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Again, where can people find the papers? Where do they submit their applications?
That is a great question, Paul. So we do have the information which is available on our website. You can just type in on Google, Sonoma County COC, and it'll take you
Right there.
right to the link. Also, if you follow Sonoma County on social media, then we also have a graphic which is posted on there right now. Shout out to Gilbert. And yeah, you can follow that link. It'll take you directly to the information to be able to download the application form, the nomination form, and the statement of interest.
Okay.
Oh,
great.
one more thing.
Yes.
You could also sign up on our website for our emailing list, our subscriber list.
Thank you.
And we send all the information through that avenue for upcoming programs, ways to get involved, as well as, of course, the Homeless Coalition Board election process and nomination forms.
Okay, great. Thank you for mentioning that. Well, just a reminder to submit your applications before February 19th at 5 p.m. I believe that's the official deadline.
That is correct, Paul.
Well, Andrew, we really appreciate you being here. And you have an open invitation to come back. But for now, we'd like to give you a SoCo Chat mug as a thank you gift for joining us today. And to our listeners, again, this is a reminder that we want you to keep joining us, and we hope you continue to follow us on SoCo Chat or Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and of course, YouTube. We'll see you next time. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.